theory of evolution tells us how life evolved from simple to more complex forms, and Mendel's experiments gives us the mechanism for the inheritance of traits from one generation to the next. But neither tells us anything about how life began on Earth in the first place. Good morning, teachers. I am Bhuvaneshwari Jayashankar, a student of Class 12 Science A. We can seek the answer to this question in the chemistry of the early Earth or in the biology of the first cell. But one must realize that chemistry and biology are just applied physics. Hence, I sought to explain the most debated problem in biology via the laws of physics. Is the emergence of life in the universe an improbable event, or, on the contrary, an inevitable one? For all the philosophers who ask how and why life conceived, this presentation aims to explain how the laws of physics demand the origin and evolution of complex life. How did life begin? An answer was suggested by the experiment conducted by Miller and Urey in 1953. They assembled an atmosphere similar to that thought to exist on early Earth. This had molecules like ammonia, methane, hydrogen sulfide, but no oxygen over water. This was maintained at a temperature just below 100 degrees Celsius, and sparks were passed through the mixture of gases to stimulate lightning. At the end of a week, 15% of the carbon from methane had been converted to simple compounds of carbon, including amino acids, which make up protein molecules. Even the most primitive protocells have cell walls. The synthesis of fatty cell membranes has been attributed to the chemical nature of lipid molecules. In an aqueous solution, their lyophilic alkyl tails and hydrophilic ionic heads tend to arrange themselves such that they enclose a hollow cavity. What is life? To understand life, we must first understand entropy. Entropy is interpreted as the degree of disorder or randomness in the system. The second law of thermodynamics states that the entropy of the entire universe as an isolated system will always increase over time. But there is one type of system that seems to resist this universal law and maintain low entropy. That system is life. Life has exceptionally low internal entropy because its structures are function-oriented, hence intricately specific and non-random. Why did life begin? Not only is life stunningly complex, but that complexity increases over extremely long time scales, from prokaryotes to single-celled eukaryotes to simple ocean invertebrates, followed by an explosion of complex animal life, and finally, us humans. Naively, this increase in order appears to contradict the second law of thermodynamics. But we need to note that our biosphere is not a closed system. The sun's light warms the atmosphere and the oceans and powers photosynthesis at the bottom of the food chain. On the other hand, the system of the Earth plus the sun is increasing in entropy. Life acts to reduce its internal entropy by increasing the entropy of the surroundings. Life absorbs order and ejects disorder into its surroundings. Thus, we can safely conclude that life evolved as a machinery to increase the entropy on the larger scale. How? Let's probe deeper. The physics of life. Life feeds on energy gradients. When two systems with different energy levels come into contact, energy must flow. Life feeds on that flow. In fact, widely accepted hypotheses predict that the first protocells arose in tidal pools, deep-sea hydrothermal vents, under surface of ice sheets, or the surface of arcing seas. All these environments share a critical property. They sit at persistent energy gradients. Evolutionary chemistry. The plausible environments mentioned above are constantly struggling to reach equilibrium by dissipating energy. Some of that energy gets distributed into chemical bonds, catalyzing the formation of molecules from nascent atoms in the primordial soup. Complexity increases indefinitely as a byproduct of the system striving to redistribute the endless gradient in energy. At some point, natural selection takes over, molecules self-catalyze, they help drive chemical reactions that make more of the same. This, in biological terms, is self-replication, or more precisely, reproduction. Therefore, life and reproduction are a very natural part of the thermodynamic drive to dissipate energy. The most random possible form for energy is thermal radiation. Longer the wavelength, lower is the energy of photons, hence higher is the entropy. A plant absorbs the concentrated ultraviolet light from the sun and reprocesses it into infrared heat glow. Animals consume high energy packets of matter called food and convert it into lower energy density waste and the same infrared heat glow through metabolism. The larger picture. Self-replication randomizes the environment, even though each new replicator is highly ordered. To understand it better, visualize a perfectly streamlined or laminar flow of some fluid. This organized flow is disrupted by introducing turbulence. The laminar flow has a lower entropy than the turbulent flow. In the transition from laminar to turbulent, the global structure is disrupted, but substructures develop. Waves and vortices have their own complex and regular structures, but they ultimately serve to dissipate the flow. As an analogy, any given eddy taken separately has a lower internal entropy than its chaotic surroundings. But the source of that local incidence of lower entropy is the streamlined flow that it formed in. Thus, the turbulent eddies ultimately serve to increase the entropy of the greater flow. Life appears to be one such eddy. In the case of life, the original source of low entropy is the Big Bang itself. In the process of redistributing energy into the most random possible state, little eddies of order, like galaxies, stars, planets, and life naturally arise. These blips in order are actually serving the second law, helping the universe disperse its extremely low entropy state. Thus, the possibility of momentarily interesting but ultimately dull and boring structures elsewhere in the universe cannot be ruled out. In simpler terms, the prospect of extraterrestrial alien life is not science fiction anymore. Thus, all of us, from the single-celled bacterium to the largest whale and the Milky Way galaxy, are simply little eddies of order, agents in the inexorable trend to maximize the entropy of the universe. Thank you.